What if Christian Horner ends up at Ferrari? So there have been rumors in German media that Christian Horner might end up at Ferrari, and there have been some interest shown from John Elkann towards picking up the former Red Bull boss. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I've done another reel on this where I think it's probably incompatible that the two would even come together. However, it entirely depends on how desperate Ferrari is and how desperate John Elkann is, because right now he's under fire for the kind of performance that Ferrari has had. With that being said, let's assume a scenario in which Ferrari is desperate, and in that desperation, they do end up hiring Horner. Now, in that scenario, I think there are at least 3 unpopular decisions that Horner is going to take that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Even though in the long term, I think it might be the right way to go about things. So first of all, the first decision that I think Horner would make is he would ultimately pick a top driver and make him the centerpiece of the entire project. He's often talked about how he would rather prefer a scenario where there is an alpha and then there's a supporting cast when it comes to drivers within a team. He's essentially used that when there was Vettel in Weber. He's used that when Max Verstappen was at Red Bull as well. So while that is the case, I think what he would try to do is first he'd either try to convince Charles Leclerc to sign up for the long term. At the same time, he'd also have to convince him on the Ferrari dream, because I think that's going to take a lot of convincing after 8 years of failure. So that is one option. The second option, I think, is probably going to be George Russell, because the way George Russell has been treated at Mercedes, it does appear that if the Ferrari dream is sold to him and he's told that he would be the team leader and the centerpiece of the entire project, he might end up being convinced and make the move from Mercedes. Secondly, I think the second thing he's going to do, which is probably going to be the most unpopular, I think he's going to let Lewis Hamilton go. Now, the reason behind it, first is Horner does not believe in having 2 alphas in the same team. So having a Lewis Hamilton and then a younger star like Leclerc or Russell, it's maybe not ideal and not the way Horner runs his team. At the same time, Lewis is close to the end of his career. So if Horner wanted to choose someone around whom he'd want to build a project, Lewis is not someone he can look at and be confident that he'll have a driver who'd stick around for multiple years and ultimately build an era. Finally, and I think the third thing that's going to happen is Horner is going to go on a large-scale recruitment drive, and a lot of people from Red Bull are going to be poached. There are a lot of Horner loyalists that are at Red Bull and Milton Keynes right now, and if given an opportunity to move to Ferrari in Maranello, they might take the call. This could end up showing the door to a lot of new signings like Loic Serra and others, but I think Horner would want to bring people that are his confidants and ultimately have an environment that he can control. So yeah, if Christian Horner does come to Ferrari, whatever I've seen of Horner in the last 20 years, I think this is the approach that he'll take. Now, it might be unpopular, but what we've seen from him is he ends up achieving success with it. So maybe that might be the jolt that Ferrari needs to ultimately start winning again in Formula.